Today we're going to look at the installation / upgrade of OspreyHost 12.8.108. In this case, this is a 12.8.107.005 Osprey host, and I have the 108 installer for OspreyHost server. I'm going to right click on it, click Run as Administrator. I'm going to answer yes to the UAC prompt. And now the installer is going to come up. And right now it's going to go ahead and shut down some services and other things in order to do the installation. At this point, I see the fact that it's going to upgrade 107 to 108. If this was a fresh install, you would simply see that it's installing 108. I'm going to click Next to continue, and it's going to start the file extraction and copying. This will take a few moments. Now that the file copy's done, it's going to script a few things such as upgrading the SmartDB database as well as a couple of other housekeeping items. And as you can see, it's finished. The actual installation is finished. I'm going to click Finish. What's not finished, however, is since this was an upgrade, we need OpenEdge to be on 12.8.9, which on this system it is not. So it's going to run through some PowerShell scripts to facilitate the upgrade to 12.8.9 OpenEdge, and there'll be some pop-up windows along the way. For example, right now it's taking care of the services. At this point, it's going to start the OpenEdge upgrade. The OpenEdge upgrade will look similar to a full installation of OpenEdge. Once that's complete, it's going to restart some services and prompt to reboot the machine, which does need to be done. Speaking of rebooting, if this was a full install, this would be installing 12.8.9 of OpenEdge, and this particular part of the process would not be required. What that means is when it popped up that it was finished and I click Finish, the system may or may not, depending on if any components needed to be updated, prompt for a reboot. If it does at that time, please click Yes. When we're doing an upgrade like this, the reboot will be suppressed to the end. At this point, the OpenEdge upgrade is done, and now it's going through the process of enabling services and anything else that has to be done. That's now complete, so now we're getting the reboot notice. So I'm going to acknowledge the service pack installation. I'm going to prompt a reboot, and then the system will reboot in approximately 60 seconds. Once the machine is rebooted and you're back up and logged on, we will return to this video. Okay, once your machine's been rebooted, you're going to want to open an administrative command prompt. It must be an administrative command prompt in order for the upgrade batch file to perform all of its tasks. Once it's open, we're going to navigate to ORS OspreyHost on the C drive. Then you can optionally navigate into the util folder and run this batch file, or you can run it from the OspreyHost folder with the full path, which is util/upgrade from 12.8.107, which is what I'm going to opt to do. This is going to launch the batch file that's going to run the upgrade on the databases till 108, reindex them, etc. Please note a couple of things. This is the main upgrade window. This will spawn off a window for each database's index build. When it does, let that window complete, and when it's complete, you must shut it down by typing exit and then hitting enter inside that window. If you click on the X in the upper right corner of the window, it will preclude the upgrade file from running the other indexes and leave your system in an incomplete upgrade state. At this point, it's opened up the host index build. You can tell it's the host by looking up in the title bar of the window. It's running the index build on the host database. Again, once this is complete, you'll be back to a command line, type EXIT and then enter. Do not click on the X up here for this window or either of the next two. Okay, at this point, the host upgrade is done. We're going to type exit. And then as you can see, it's now started the HIST log upgrade. The HIST log index build is significantly quicker. Now we're going to type exit and enter again and get to the smart database. This one should be about as quick. On a production system, your host database may be longer and your HIST log will probably be much longer. This is a QA database with minimal records in either. Type exit, and now I'm going to let the primary upgrade batch file continue. As you can see, it says it's finished. I press any key to continue. I close this window. At this point, if I try to open up OspreyHost, it's going to bring up the validation code because I now need my 12.8.108 validation code from either your Osprey reseller if you're an end user, or if you're already an Osprey reseller, then you would need that from Osprey itself. Once we type that in there and click OK, the system will be licensed. This will close, and then you can go ahead and click and run OspreyHost. Thank you, and have a good afternoon.